Hi, my name is Khleif, and I'm the host of the Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing podcast. And every week I interview multifamily rock stars, and we talk about how they've built incredible wealth for themselves and their families through multifamily properties. So hit the like and subscribe buttons to get notified every Monday when a new episode comes out. Let's get to it. Welcome back to Multifamily Rockstars. As you guys know, this is where we interview people that are just flat out crushing it in this business. And let me tell you, this show's no different today for sure. And we share the inside scoop as to how multifamily investors are creating massive success in their businesses and in their lives. And as always, I've got my co-host, who's the director of our massive action team for our Warrior Group, Mark Nagy on.
Good to see you again, Rod. Happy to be here.
Good to be seen. Good to be seen. And we're getting excited because we've got our Warrior Only event coming this weekend in Phoenix. You know, a couple times a year, we do events just for our Warriors where we go deep dives on underwriting and area analysis and things like that. But more importantly, it's an opportunity for Warriors to network because my Warriors are now at about, we believe at about 180,000 units that we know of. We're doing a count and trying to catch up on it. And I've only been teaching a little over 5 years, so very, 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 very proud of that. Well, today we've got Max Shah on for an interview, and he's in over 1,100 units in different sectors, multifamily and self-storage, and he's also got some gas stations, and he's just a good guy. So we're lucky to have him on. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your story? Give us a little background on where you came from and, you know, why you joined the Warrior program, why you got into multifamily, and just kind of, you know, give us a high level overview, if you would, Max.
Okay. So typical my immigration story from India. Grew up in poverty, came in here, graduated high school when I was 15 and a half, been to a few schools around the country. Started working with Microsoft, didn't like that, quit my job there in a year, and started acquiring hotels because that's the only thing I knew how to operate them before. Ever since that, it's 1, 2, 3. I like to buy closed down businesses, so I was going around the country buying hotels. Then I ended up in Florida with the gas stations here, and I'm like, this is not my life. I want to do something else, and I want to get my time back. I'm spending 100 hours a week at my station. So I started looking at the other avenues and rental properties. So I started building homes, which was too much time consuming and wasn't easy enough to scale. So I started listening to your podcast and some others, which turned me into multifamily. And I'm like, okay, this is something I could really great at and I could do and put my skill set to use. And I could scale up faster and I get my time back with my family. So I attended one of your boot camp, and I'm like, okay, this is the place for me. And I joined the Warrior program right away after that.
Wow. And you've done 1,100 units since you've joined. When did you join approximately?
In 2022, May.
2022. Wow.
Year and a half.
So year and a half, 1,100 units. Wow, buddy, that's really impressive, man. And you said you came from poverty. Yeah, so in India, huh? Wow.
I grew up in tents, and I was sewing footballs for Nike back in the day. And
no
I don't know who Nike
was
or why their football were not around.
No kidding. You were making footballs. Wow. That's crazy. That's crazy. So talk a little bit about your start in the multifamily. Like maybe what was your first deal? You know, how did it come together? Did you have Warriors helping you? How did you do your first deal?
So my very first deal was I was networking with a bunch of people, and it took me 6 months to figure out what roles I can play in teams and what I could do best of my abilities and support them. So I was talking to people, and other Warriors reached out to me, gave me a bunch of pointers. And so I took their pointers and I went out there and found a deal. Well, people found a deal and they brought it to me. And we had 2 weeks to close. We got it under contract at December 12th. Yep. And everybody wanted to close it before 31st to get the 100% bonus depreciation.
Oh, yeah.
So we didn't have much time. We had a loan and everything approved, but that wasn't closing until January. So I took it to my investors and I told them, hey, I'm in the deal. I'm putting my money as well where my mouth is at the same time. we need to close it before 31st for tax depreciation, as well as the other stuff. So owner wanted to get out there faster too. So we presented owner seller financing at 4%, 4 years interest only. And he was hesitant first, but on December 26th on Christmas time, morning calling me up, hey, like Christmas miracle, let's go, 4%.
No kidding. No kidding. You had a Christmas miracle. I love it. That's a movie. You should make a movie about that with music and everything.
Yeah.
I love it. So you're able to close it by the end of the year. Good for you. So by the way, guys, if you don't know what bonus depreciation is, it allows you to capture 100% of the depreciation in the first year. It's extraordinary. It's 80% this year. Unfortunately, we're losing that in a couple months. Then it goes down 20% a year. It's going to be 60 next year. Wow, good for you. That's an awesome story, brother. I love it.
One thing you mentioned that I was curious about, you said you had team members bring the deal to you. I wanted to kind of stick on that for the listeners. Who were these people and why did they bring the deal to you?
So it came from networking with a bunch of people. Before that, 6 months when I joined the Warrior program, I was being told and thought networking is a success to the key team and success in this business. So I network with everybody I can talk to. I spoke to about 400 people back then when I got my first deal. And I told them what I do and what I did in the past. And 2 guys, I was keep on calling them like weekly, monthly basis, just to follow ups and whatnot. And he's like, okay, you've been calling me from sometimes. So I got this deal and I can use it for capital raising and asset management. And I told them capital raising is not my strength, but asset management it is, because I've been running hotels and whatnot. So
Sure.
So I joined it as asset manager, and I did raise $1.5 million in 2 days after that.
Yeah, see, so maybe capital raising, maybe you're not so terrible at it there, Max. Hate to break that to you, but you know, it's funny. I remember meeting you at a Warrior event here in Sarasota, and somebody brought you to me, if I recall, because your story was unique, coming from India and what you did there and everything and all the things you've done. I vaguely remember. Of course, you know, I'm meeting hundreds and thousands of people a year, so the fact that I even remember that's astounding. But I remember you were a networking fool there, buddy. I could see it. You were networking with everybody, and that's the main reason we have those Warrior events. Is you know, we've discovered this, like, I don't know, 3.5, 4 years ago, our most successful warriors by far are the ones that are the most connected. So we started doing things to help facilitate those connections. Like we have, you know, speed dating every other week after our Q&A calls, we do these breakouts and we speed date. Warriors can meet each other and we connect warriors with the warrior in the state they live in. And then of course these warrior events, but I remember you specifically networking like crazy. So, you know, I beg to differ on your you know, your opinion that you're not a good capital raiser, because that's what, you know, that's one of the, and where we're heading into economically, the money's going to be harder to find than the deals. Hell, we've got a deal we think is under contract. We're not sure just yet, but got it yesterday. It was at 28 million. We're getting it for 18. And so, you know, that's what's happening right now out there. There's deals coming. And so, you know, so let me ask you this, Max. What suggestions would you have for someone starting out in real estate investing? You know, because, you know, I have a lot of listeners that know they need to do something. They see there could be opportunity coming. I'm telling you, there is opportunity coming, as the example I just gave. But, you know, they haven't taken action yet. They know they need to take action. What advice would you give them, my friend? First
thing I would tell them is get a coach or a mentor. It will completely change your life. Once I joined the Warrior program, this is not me. I was just a tech guy sitting in my corner talking to nobody. But once I joined the Warrior program, I can't even shut up myself. I just keeps on going, networking. So get a mentor and start learning from what they have to offer. And the best way to do it, I joined the Warrior program. That's the same reason. And that's the best decision I made in my life.
Wow, that's really nice of you to say that, brother. Thank you for that. I'll have to slip you a 20 when I see you next time.
No, man.
I'm kidding.
What are some of those things that you've done to kind of break out of your comfort zone, right? Obviously you've networked a ton. Do you just call people? Do you set up Zoom calls? Do you like to do it in person? What are some of those things that you've done to really break out of your shell that might help other people listening that they could do?
Yeah, because before you answer, you know, I mean, when someone's in the tech space, they're very analytical, yes, and very often they're fairly introverted. Would you consider yourself an introvert?
I was, not anymore.
You was not anymore. Okay, because I asked you before you came on. I said, "Have you been on an interview before?" And you said, "No, I've been asked 20 times, but I haven't done one yet." And so it made me think, well, maybe he doesn't like this. And I said, well, you just started on the biggest one in the world, so no pressure. Yeah. anyway, so I completely forgot what the question was.
Yeah. So what did you do? What did you do to break out of that? And some of those
So,
specifics that you've done.
Yeah. Good.
Well, I'm going to tell a sad story at the same time, a good story too. While I was joining Warrior program, I had my first kid was born around the same time, May 22. The next month after my dad passed away. So I was like, my dad wasn't there for me. Not because he didn't want to be there, but he was working out there trying to feed us. So I was like, I want to change my life. And I joined the Warrior program already. I want to take advantage of it fully. And my coach been telling me to network with people, call people. So one day I just woke up and went to Warrior Facebook page and started messaging everybody who wants to talk to me. Then I got 10 calls scheduled same week, and that led to the different calls and different groups. And that led me to my first deal.
There you go. And now you're at 1,100 units. Good. That's an awesome example. Listen, as you started getting into the multifamily space, talk about any epiphanies that you had, aha moments where you're like, okay, now I get it. And I'm sure there's numerous ones, but to try to think of a big one where you're like, okay, now I know what I should be doing here.
So I was studying through the 90-day action plans and whatnot that you had, and my coach was guiding me along, and I was like, okay, let me try different things and figure out what am I good at, because I know I was good at asset management, but I wasn't sure what else I could do.
Yeah.
So I started talking to the brokers and sellers directly. Then I figured out I was good at negotiation and due diligence too. So that was my moment that I went to one of the deals, looked at property. But surprisingly, even the agent forgot to disclose that it was on bankruptcy. And you can't buy the property when they're already on bankruptcy court. You have to negotiate with the mediator.
No, actually with the trustee, the bankruptcy trustee. Yep. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And broker forgot to tell me about that too. We already signed the PSA on it, but you ain't wired the END yet. But I was like, okay, let me do my due diligence required to the property. And that's what came on. And so you better do your due diligence right, like you said, to everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's very interesting. Wow. Did you end up getting it or no?
Nope. We had to skip it because it has so much shitty stuff going on in there.
Yeah.
When I looked at bank statements and whatnot, it was just big in P&L.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just coming out in there.
So you discovered that you were good at negotiation. Now, I don't want to make this sound racist, but isn't it, your culture is very good at negotiating, correct? I mean, in the markets and everything else, right? They think you're an idiot if you pay what they ask. Am I correct there?
Yes, sir. But when I came to States, I lost my touch.
So you had to bone up a little bit. Now you mentioned the 90-day action plan. That's something that our students, utilize to stay on track. It's so hard because it can be overwhelming. And I love the way you described it, where you used it to figure out what you'd be good at. And that's super important in what we're talking about here, because you're not going to do every piece of this business. You're gonna hone in on your skills, on your superpower, on your strength. Because if you're playing in what you're strong in, and you hire a line or partner for what you need help with, man, success is inevitable. And when you're doing what you're good at, first of all, you're going to love it, and you don't really work another day in your life. You probably really enjoy due diligence and negotiation like I do as well. I freaking love that part of the business. Yeah. And so work is play. And then if you love in what you're doing, you're passionate about it, right? And what's required to influence people? Passion. And so, that was a really Really good example. Thank you.
What are some of those strategies you've used, Matt? In this sort of market where prices are coming down, obviously Rod just gave one example for himself. What are some of those negotiation strategies that you're doing and using right now that don't come off in a offensive way to the broker or seller?
So I just go straight forward. I actually do send them my underwriting and I tell them this is what my investors want. This is where we at, and you are at 10 times higher than that or way far away. But there is still deal to be made. And I don't like to talk to brokers over the phone when I'm negotiating. I would rather go face to face and talk to them. Because it plays down to psychology too, that I took for years in university. If you are more face to face and if you can explain your stuff better to them, they will take it to the owner. But usually I tell broker to bring the owner with them too. And I put them on the spot and tell them, hey man, this is what it is. My investors don't like these numbers. Can you make it better? I'm here to make a deal. I flew in 2,000 miles just to talk to you guys. So I'm not going to go empty handed from here.
That's really good. That's really good. And I will tell you, something else you just said is when you're in front of them, the more face time you have, the better shot you have because they've already invested time with you. And they feel like they're losing if they don't put the thing together because they've got so much time invested as well. So that's another strategy, but I love what you just said. I flew in to do this. I want to make a deal. Here's our numbers. Show me why they don't work, okay? And I love it because you're putting it right in their face like that. That's a really good strategy, Max. So, everybody thinks this business is cream puffs and rainbows. And, we get our ass kicked occasionally. Talk about a war story. I mean, it's only been a year and a half for you, but I'm sure you've got a couple of, war stories. I mean, the one example where you wanted to close by the end of the year is kind of a quasi one, but think of another one. I'm sure you've got another one you could tally up here for us.
Oh, I got a bunch of them, but one I would say was the one, know who you were working with, your partners and your people.
Right.
Because I had few deals went under me that I worked on and taken away from me, literally.
Really?
If you tally them up would be about
$20
million or more.
How were they? So somebody just went around you and bought them.
Yeah. So
was it a warrior? Was it a warrior? Was it a warrior? Because I'll throw their ass out of the system. Yeah.
If he was a warrior, I would not be sitting here right now. I'd be just
right. No, you would be sitting here, but they wouldn't be no longer in the program. I can just tell you that right now. That's like sacrosanct in our business, in our program. That whoever gets the deal brings the deal. It's their deal. Anybody goes around them, they're out in seconds. It's never happened. Actually, it's never happened. That's why I was sitting here, kind of concerned when you brought that up. So it was somebody outside the program. Thank God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why I tell people, know your partners who you're working with, know them better than you know your wife.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, I can tell you, I don't know about you, but I don't know if you're able to make are you coming to Phoenix? Are you going to make it?
No, this is the only World event I'm going to miss because of the second baby coming along. So.
Oh, congratulations.
That's a good excuse.
That's a pretty good excuse. Yeah, you brought your baby to the last one, if I recall, right? Didn't I get to meet your baby?
Yeah, we've been to every single one of your events so far.
He has. That's right. That's awesome. Well, listen, we talked about, you mentioned, getting torpedoed by somebody stealing your deals, and that absolutely never happens in the Warrior program. But let me mention the Warrior program. If you have an interest in applying to this extraordinary freaking program, you text the word CRUSH to 72345. Again, that's CRUSH to 72345. And we'll set up a call with you. You look us over, we look you over. And if it's a fit, you're off to the freaking races. If it's not, then you'll still leave that call better than when you went on it. But, I think you're hearing, would you agree, Max? Well, you said it was the greatest decision you ever made. So I don't think it's any better than that.
I'm not promoting at all, but this is the best decision anybody's going to make in their life.
Oh, that's
joining
beautiful.
This program.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. So, you're handling the due diligence, asset management, because you've got incredible experience across different businesses managing assets. So that just carries over for sure. But I know I don't think I have to guess at this. Your why is your kids, right? You don't want them to deal with what you had to deal with growing up. Would that be correct?
That's one of my whys. My biggest why is I have enough money to to live my life and my kids' life. They have enough for them, but I want to build schools and communities in rural countries in Africa or somewhere. And
Wow.
what I'm doing now is going to go towards it.
Oh, that's fantastic, brother.
Everybody builds the schools. Sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but everybody builds the
No,
schools,
please.
but they forget about building universities or forget about getting them a job, because high school education is not going to give them a job anymore.
Right.
So I want to build a self-sustaining community. The parents can work in the community while the kids can go to school. We feed them and we house them. We build one community like that. When they get out of university, they could go out the community, just donate 1% of the time or money back to the community, and we build the second one and third one. And after that, it's just self-sustaining.
That is so crazy that you said that, brother, because that is absolutely my goal as well. I don't know if you ever heard me talk about this. You know, I've fed now over 140,000 children for the holidays, but my goal is, you know, they, like the good book says, don't give them fish, teach them to fish. And my goal has always been to build self-sustaining schools. But I love the fact you're really calling it a self-sustaining village. You know, my thought was buy enough land that you could have an agriculture infrastructure or an IT infrastructure where they can literally sustain themselves and sustain the community. You and I need to have another conversation about that then, brother, because that's absolutely something I want to do as well. I'm leaning more towards Latin America because there's so much graft in Africa. And we won't get this derailed, but let me say something at a high level here, guys. Okay, he's super successful in multifamily in a short year and a half. We do at our boot camps, we will do Hall of Fames for awards for exemplary warriors that have just gone above and beyond. And the first one we just did another one just last one in Orlando, but the first one we did was in Denver, and we did a PowerPoint for each one of the warriors that came up on stage and got this hallowed award, which is really what it was, a Hall of Fame award, which is really a big deal with the number of warriors that we have. That were about 10 or 15 the first time and same the second time. But I started to see a pattern. Every single one of them gives back in a big way. Veterans suicide, veterans homelessness, sexual trafficking, building schools in India. Dinesh does that, all these things. And here we go. Max's why is to build self-sustaining schools. So guys, that is what we call a clue. Okay. So if you want success, you give. You don't just focus on making money. You focus on making the world a better place. I love that, brother. Really, really proud of you for that, for you coming back with that. For that why, because power moves to those who serve. And that's just the way God works, the universe works. So love it, brother.
I can't let you get off the call here, Max, without you telling us this story about one of your most recent deals that was extremely complicated. And I know we were messaging back and forth, and you said you were about pulling your hair out by the time you got to the closing line. But tell us about this complicated deal, where it started at, how you worked through it, and how you got through all that to get it to the closing line, and how that all went. Because it's a great story.
Yep. So first, when we got a deal under LOI was accepted, it was 7 months ago. The rates were different back then. So we worked
just a little.
At what price point, by the way? What price point did you start at?
So that we started at the $4.5 million.
Okay.
Well, the owner wanted 6. We negotiated them down to 4.5 because that's the number it made sense for it, and that's what the underwriting was barely passing what I was being told at Warrior program. Mm-hmm. So we got that number signed with the seller, but then he delayed process by almost 6 months. So we traded with him like 3-4 times. Then like 2 weeks before closing, we also had rate hike. The bank said we can't do the mortgage at this rate anymore, even though we had term sheet was ready but not signed. So we had to retrade with the bank, and so rate went up a little bit more. So we had to go back to our underwriting and go back to the seller. And he was an investor too, so he came back with his bottom number. It's like, this is my number, bottom ones. This is what I'm at, and this is where my money is going to the next deal. So we like, okay, fine. We barely can retrade with you. It's only like $25,000 we retraded. So between retrading, we were at 3.975.
By the way, sorry to interrupt. Retrading means renegotiate a deal, guys, just so you know. You don't want to do a lot of it because brokers don't like it. But in this current environment, with the rates going up, when rates absolutely impact pricing, you absolutely can renegotiate or retrade. So please continue. I just wanted to let people know they're wondering what retrade meant.
Yep. So once the final number came in, we were 3 weeks before closing at this time. and we can't make our numbers work properly. So we went back to the property. We went back to the
Seller.
seller as well as the property manager. The seller wasn't budging, so we had to creatively think differently, and make more revenue for our investors. So our biggest expense besides mortgage was property management fees and whatnot. So we went to the property managers and we offered them solid deals because we figured out they had 5,000 doors they're managing and they're buying some of them on their own too. So we offer them, instead of property management, we offer them GP, general partnership spot for their management, and 1% for first year management fees and 3% afterwards.
Wow.
They didn't like it, but we went to owner directly, property management owner company, and we talked to them and we showed them all underwriting and everything. Then he was agreed finally. And we also throw him our other asset was nearby as a property management.
So you gave him another asset to manage, but you told him you're going to cut your fees for a piece of the deal on this one.
Yep, from 8% to 1% first year, then 3% afterwards.
Wow.
It's the first time I've heard that on this show, I think, of somebody doing that.
No, that's very creative, brother. So this is a smaller asset, obviously, if it's 8%, because that means it doesn't have a full on-site staff and whatnot. How big is it?
56 doors.
Yeah, 56. That makes sense. You typically need 70, 80 doors to have an on-site manager, full-time maintenance person, leasing agent, so on and so forth. So they if the management company has to handle those things, you're going to pay, a lot more money. On a larger asset, you're typically going to pay 3%, 3 or 4%. But on a smaller one like this, you're going to pay higher. But that's very creative, brother. Very impressive. That's how you made that deal work. Good job, man.
Who came up with that? By the way, was that you that came up with it, or somebody else came up with that and told you?
That was me and my other partner. We both were talking to each other and like, okay, why don't we just cut the other expense off? And we came up with that idea. But it's not the end of the story, though. Then after that, we had the mortgage document showed up. Yeah, so much stuff on default clause.
Really?
So we had to retrade with them too.
Retrade with the mortgage company. You had to renegotiate what was on the, and this is why you use an attorney for this stuff, guys. So you had a good attorney helping you to review those documents, and you reviewed them as well, I'm sure. But so you can renegotiate some of these clauses in the loan documents for sure. Wow.
Good to see why you were pulling your hair out.
What did you say, Max?
It was so broad on default clause. It was also baked into occupancy and everything of property as well as the other partners. We had to take all those extra language out.
Good.
And we are ready to walk out a deal because that was just way off.
Yeah.
We don't mind losing our money because we don't want to lose any investors' money.
No, that's the way to do it. I mean, that's how you have to approach this. So you got to treat their money like your money. Very impressive, brother. Well, listen, I appreciate you coming on today. You definitely added value, and I can't wait to see where you're at in a couple of years, because especially in this economy, I know you're going to snag a couple thousand more units. I can just see it coming. But anyway, I appreciate you coming on, my friend. It's great to see you.
Thank you so much for having me. We appreciate you guys.
See you, Max.
All right. So one other quick thing. We encounter so many people that are frankly frustrated. They're looking in the mirror and they're frustrated that they haven't been able to escape the rat race. They haven't been able to build cash flow to the point where they're able to have financial and time freedom with their families. And maybe they see other people buying real estate and creating, incredible cash flow, and they think, well, it's just scary. Buying apartments is intimidating. And I get it. See, that's why we created our Warrior Mentorship Program. They're our coaching students, and they've had extraordinary results. My students, I've been teaching about 5 years, and they own upwards of 140,000 units now that we know of, right? And we feel like it's just getting going. Now we're looking to grow this group and really take it to the next level. And honestly believe that the greatest transfer of wealth could be upon us right now with this current economic environment. Everything's going on sale. So we're looking for people who want to follow a proven framework, really like a blueprint or a map, literally step by step. And then they're able to leverage our systems and our incredible network to raise money and equity, to find deals and close those deals and build partnerships, really nationwide. So if you're interested in finding out more about how you can become more in our incredible network and take advantage of the unbelievable opportunities that are upon us, you can apply to my Warrior Mentorship Program by texting the word CRUSH to 72345. Or you can go to mentorwithrod.com. And what we'll do is we'll set up a call so you can check us out and we can check you out and see if it's a fit. Now, again, you can go to mentorwithrod.com or text the word crush to 72345 to apply, and we will speak soon.